What's up, squad? Josh with Delta Hogz bringing it to you with another video. This video will be coming out while I'm out of town. As you guys who do know or follow me on other social medias, it's been a really crazy couple months. Been out of town a lot for different things, military-wise. So this is a Brumation video, which I wish I'd filmed when I did Brumation. It's currently March, so we're not doing Brumation right now. But here's a quick video on how to set up a bin, set up the material in the bin, and temp range and process in which I go through doing so. This year I brumated everything in my snake room, so 59 snakes, including my 2024 babies. And I dropped to a temperature colder than I've ever dropped before, while on a new substrate that I'd never used before. So it was quite daunting in the fact that, we're getting down to 45 degrees, which I previously was not doing. Working with a more of a moisture retention sort of substrate versus using aspen and babies. So never brumated a baby. The situation for me doing so in this case, I have a 6 weeks class to go to for military. Brumation I ran for 12 weeks, generally 10 weeks. So it just made sense. It happened to be the same time that I would normally brumate. So instead of having my wife try to deal with a bunch of babies, I brumated everything. Everything turned out amazing. No losses, obviously. And actually, almost every snake didn't lose weight. They generally lose a lot of hydration weight just from being on dry aspen with low humidity in the air. And in brumation, most of their humidity intake and moisture intake is going to be through their breath. So they'll be breathing out moisture with every breath the same way that you and me do. So if they're in a moist environment, they will also be intaking humidity and intaking moisture through that process. It's not dripping wet, so let's be clear. It's not like producing scale rot kind of wetness. We are talking lightly damp. I wouldn't even really say moist. I'd probably say moist in the video, lightly damp, no water being squeezed out. It worked really well. So if you haven't done it this way or you're thinking about doing it, do it. I do want to put this out there for those of you who are pet keepers. You do not need to brumate your snake, okay? It does not require to be brumated. Brumation is used for two main purposes. The second purpose, which is not as often used, is to get a snake back on the feed. Sometimes brumating them will get them eating again, especially for new hatchlings sometimes. It's not something I've ever had to resort to, but it is something that is done. But the primary reason in which to brumate a snake is to cycle an ovulation. And to for the males, it's kind of like building sperm plugs. It increases their fertility, basically. But it also just gets everybody, or all the snakes, like it's time, to do the dance, if you will. So that's why we do it. You don't have to brumate. You also don't have to brumate to breed. There's plenty of breeders that do breed and they do not brumate. The only difference is they might have clutches throughout the year. They get clutches just whenever that female will ovulate. That female might ovulate in March, might be June, might be September, it might be October. There's just no telling when they might ovulate. Out of their, I don't know, we'll say 10 snakes, they could ovulate all at different periods, like different months throughout the year, which can be beneficial because you're getting eggs all year, you're hatching babies all year. So that could be a business structure that you might be wanting to do. Brumation sinks them. When they come out of that cooling period and that rewarming up period, they're naturally and instinctually ovulating. They're going to start to ovulate. A lot of the times I'm seeing ovulations, not literally seeing it, but you know what I'm saying. Getting ovulations like 3-6 weeks out after brumation, all the way up to a couple months after. Some of the girls may ovulate and they just may not build eggs. Hard to really know. Sometimes they do ovulation sheds, sometimes they don't do ovulation sheds. It just is what it is. But let's stop rambling and let's get into prepping a brumation den. All right, guys, so here we are on a quick brumation video. So it is currently March, So I'm not actually putting a snake into brumation here. I wish I had done this back in November when I did put them in, but we're just going to do a quick touch on how you want to do this, right? So this is one of the actual brumation bins in which I've used. And excuse me, I am gloving up because I am about to grab one of my breeder snakes here as a demonstration. This is a size tub that I would use for my big adult females. You can find them at Walmart. You can find them at Target. They're pretty common standard tubs in the Tupperware section. So what you definitely want is a air hole. So if you see here, I have some air holes on the side of this bin. This is more than what you'd want. I'd want one or two. As you can see, I have actually taped up quite a few of these. They don't need a ton of airflow. Actually, less would be a little bit more, so you're not losing humidity too quickly. So here inside this bin, you can see this was a used bin. You can actually see where she pushed all of this to the side, where she wanted it or didn't want it. But basically, this is a cocoa a cocoa core material that I have mixed with a play sand. So that's all this is a cocoa and sand mixture. It's probably 75% cocoa and a 25% sand. It doesn't need to be exact, doesn't need to be crazy. It is moist. As you can see, if I wring my hand out, I'm not dripping any water. It holds its shape. It's kind of, this is kind of how you want it. You want it to be a little moist, not dripping, but to where it will hold its shape and it will hold in humidity. So I previously did this on Aspen, and I could tell you the snakes would come out dehydrated. They'd come out with, losing weight, sometimes even 10, 15 grams on adult females, just from water content dehydration. And that's even with a provided water bowl. So the reason why this is the case is Aspen's very dry, right? And when they are cooled, they're not necessarily running around and drinking water in here. They're in like a hibernated state, right? So they're not necessarily going to always go to water, even if it's provided. Even if you put their head into the water bowl, I've seen them not drink water, even though I know they're dehydrated. So this is actually a process, and changing to this is kind of what I've seen JMG or Jeff Gale would do. He put out a video on YouTube as well. And I know a lot of other people do it. It's not just Jeff, but Jeff is why I switched to this. I'm in his Discord group, and it's talked about quite a bit. So I tried this out this year, and honestly, I had all of my snakes go in. I recorded their weight on the bin. It's on the side here. And they all came out at -1 gram up to like plus 10 grams, right? So that tells me they're not eating in here. So they're not gaining weight through food. The only thing they could have gained weight through is hydration, which means when they went in here, maybe they weren't hydrated very well. But on average, most of my snakes at most lost 1 gram. 3 months, 1 gram loss. I say 3 months. It was probably about 11, 12 weeks. That's pretty close to 3 months, yeah. So that's pretty good. So I'm very happy with it. I'm going to continue to do this substrate mix. But anyways, you put your container in here. You can put it in, smooth it out. You can leave it however you want. They're going to move it how they want it, right? Your brumation container or bin depends on where you're going to live. You might just use your basement, your garage. You might use a brumating fridge. I'll take you over to the brumating fridge here after this to show you putting it into the fridge. You're going to have to simulate the fridge, right? Because my fridge is currently set up as an incubator at incubating temps, but we'll go over temps. So basically what you want is you take your snakes, you feed them their last meal. I wait 3 weeks from that last meal. Generally, my snakes will defecate in 2 to 4 days after eating a meal. I wait 3 weeks, let them completely empty their gut, because at these cold temperatures, they cannot digest. So you do want their digestive tract to be empty. Otherwise, the food can literally rot within their stomach and can make them quite ill, if not even make them pass away. So there you go. We just fed our last snakes their last meal. We waited three weeks before taking them off of heat. I removed the heat at the end of that week 3, and I let them go 1 week at my room temperature. My room temperature in this house I keep at around 69 to 70 degrees. This room can fluctuate a little bit because it has a big window over here to the side. But it's generally around that zone. They get about a week. And let's see who we're going to pull out here. Let's pull out somebody who's not currently building eggs, because a lot of these are building eggs. So let's pull out my Snowmaker male as a demonstration here. And this was my Snowmaker male's bin, and this cocoa core that is in this bin was my Snowmaker male's also. Something I am talked a lot to the guys on Discord on Jeff's Discord is biosecurity. It's something that I am looking at taking more seriously within my main snake room, right? So I was doing all the right things for cleaning and sterilizing bins and for my my quarantine systems, but it's been brought to my attention that some of them are actually doing this on their whole collections, right? Switching gloves between collections, not touching multiple snakes with the same gloves, kind of thing. So I think I'm gonna uptick that also, just because I think it's a good practice. And to be honest, it's not overly more effort. It's just more disposable gloves and stuff. Which, while I do hate using that amount of disposable stuff, there is a lot of money in these snakes in this room, and I do care for them quite a bit. So whatever I can do to ensure their safety, that's what I'm going to do. So anyways, besides that point, this is Zuko. He is a purple line albino superconda that is 100% het snow. If you have a het snow baby from me, this is the dad of that clutch. He's unfortunately, the camera doesn't really do him a lot of justice, but he does have a nice little stripe going on his back, and he is generally pretty fiery, which is why I called him Zuko, because he's generally got an attitude, right? So you put him in the bin like this, put the lid on him, and you'd go put it in the cooler. And at the cooler, you'd want to keep that around room temperature to start, right? When you put them in there. And then you want to start dropping that 2 or 3 degrees every couple of days is what I do. So it'll take me about a week to get down to my ideal temperature, or the temperature I'm shooting for. I'll put them in there roughly around 65 to start, going from room temp 68 down to 65. And I'll drop 3 to 4 degrees every couple of days. And this last season, I actually brought them down to 45 degrees, which is a little scary, I'm not going to lie, but it worked out really well. Do the opposite. So once you hit that 10 weeks, do the opposite. Start warming it up a little bit, get them up to room temperature, and then you could take them out and put them into their bin. I do 1 bin or 1 week in their actual bin, so that we can go ahead and return him to his bin. Thank you for starring on this episode, Zuko. Enjoy. I put him in his bin with no heat on, and then I give him a week with no heat, and then I turn the heat back on, but I turn the heat on low, right? So instead of going up to 90 or something, I turn it on at 85. And then after another week, I might bump it up to my normal 88, which is where I normally keep it. So that's Brumation.